So BMW has revealed the new i3. And no, this is not the quirky carbon fiber beam from the last decade that looked like it was designed by a very stressed architecture student. This is the new fully electric 3 Series. The proper one. The important one. The one BMW clearly wants to use to tell the world, relax everyone, we still know how to make a sports sedan. It just happens to run on electrons now. And honestly, they haven't exactly shown up quietly. The launch model, the BMW i350 xDrive, arrives with 469 horsepower, 645 Newton-meters of torque, up to 900 kilometers of WLTP range, and charging at up to 400 kilowatts. That is not an entrance. That is BMW kicking the door off its hinges and walking in wearing expensive shoes. The purpose of the new i3 is bigger than just replacing a 3 Series with a battery. This car is basically BMW's public thesis statement for the Neue Klasse era. BMW is calling it a technological quantum leap, which sounds dramatic, but for once the Germans may actually be underselling it. Because this car is not just new in the normal car launch sense. It's new in the fresh software stack, new battery architecture, new computing platform, new display philosophy, new design language, and eventually a full factory transition to EV-only Neue Klasse production in Munich. Sense. In other words, the i3 is BMW saying, this is the blueprint now. This is the direction. This is what the next era of BMW is supposed to feel like. And that matters, because the 3 Series is not just another BMW. It is the BMW. BMW itself calls the 3 Series the essence of the brand, the core icon that has stood for sporty driving pleasure and constant progress for 5 decades. So turning that car into an EV was never going to be some casual side quest. This had to feel like a real BMW, not a laptop on wheels with leather seats and a trust fund. The mission here is obvious. Keep the 3 Series DNA, but use electrification to push BMW's strengths harder, not soften them. So the new i3 is meant to prove BMW can do EV tech without sacrificing that old-school sense of precision, balance, and driver focus the brand has been dining out on for years. Now let's get to the juicy numbers, because BMW absolutely stuffed this press release with the kind of figures that make thumbnails happy. 2 motors, 1 front and 1 rear, 345 kilowatts or 469 horsepower, 645 Newton-meters of torque, and 800-volt architecture. Then comes the real eyebrow raiser. Up to 900 kilometers of WLTP range globally. While BMW's Canadian materials translate that to an estimated up to 700 kilometers on preliminary EPA-based testing. Which is a good reminder that range standards are a bit like social media bios. Everyone's technically telling the truth, just with different filters on. Then there's the charging, up to 400 kilowatts DC, with up to 400 kilometers of range added in 10 minutes on the WLTP cycle. That is properly savage. That's not grab a coffee charging. That's blink and your battery's less stressed than you are charging. But the part BMW seems most proud of is not the range, not the charging, not even the power. It's the driving brain. The new i3 gets something called the Heart of Joy, which sounds like either a wellness app or a very emotional anime character. But in BMW language, it's the high-performance computer that manages the driving experience. BMW says its responses are 10 times faster than previous systems, and that it works with the dynamic performance control stack to make the car feel more accurate, more stable, and more agile. BMW also says the i3 can recuperate energy intensely, even when cornering, without messing up stability. So the pitch here is very clear. This isn't meant to be an EV that just goes fast in a straight line and then feels like a confused fridge in corners. It's supposed to feel genuinely sorted, properly alive. Visually, the new i3 is BMW trying to evolve without wandering off into sci-fi nonsense. It keeps the familiar sporty sedan profile, But BMW says it now wears a modern 2.5 box design with a long wheelbase, short overhangs, a greenhouse setback from the body, and those big flared arches that make it look like it's been going to the gym in secret. Up front, the kidney grille and twin headlights merge into one light and geometry unit, giving you the classic BMW 4i face, just cleaned up for the digital age. At the rear, you get horizontal 3D light signatures, a wide stance, and a diffuser element down low. There are 11 launch colors too, including a new Le Castellet Blue Metallic, which sounds exactly like the sort of paint you'd choose if you wanted your neighbors to know you read design books. Inside is where BMW seems to have decided luxury should feel less like old money wood paneling and more like expensive architecture with very good Wi-Fi. The cabin is airy, driver-oriented, and full of light, helped by a standard panoramic roof with climate glass and big window areas. The main event is BMW Panoramic xDrive, a new display concept that projects information across the lower windshield from A-pillar to A-pillar, paired with a 17.9-inch free-cut central display and an optional 3D head-up display. That means the traditional instrument cluster behind the wheel is basically gone. Because apparently the future does not believe in gauges living where gauges have lived for 100 years. There are sporty seats, optional multifunction seats, electrically operated door latches, inductive charging in the center console, customizable My Modes, and materials ranging from Veganza upholstery to optional BMW individual black merino leather. So yes, it's still a BMW sports sedan, but one that now moonlights as a boutique hotel lobby. This is also the clearest sign yet that BMW is going full software-defined vehicle. The i3 runs BMW Operating System X, built on the Android open source project, and BMW says it's designed for long-term updates and upgrades. There are 4 Super Brain high-performance computers handling driving dynamics, automated driving and parking, infotainment and comfort functions like climate and access. BMW says they offer up to 20 times the computing power of previous BMW models. 20 times. Which means the new i3 is not just a car with some software. It is software with seats, door handles, and a mortgage-sized monthly payment. And through over-the-air updates, BMW says it can keep gaining functions, optimize performance, and AI-supported features long after purchase. That's a pretty big philosophical shift for a company that used to define progress in terms of cylinder count and steering feel. BMW is also making a big deal of symbiotic drive, which is their way of saying the assistance systems are supposed to work with you, not slap your hands every time you breathe near the wheel. In BMW's own description, the car allows acceleration, braking, or steering inputs even when assistance is active, without immediately dropping out of the system. And it uses steering input and the driver's direction of view to help infer intent. The Canadian reveal materials also point to Level 2 plus automated driving availability in relevant markets. The idea then is that this is not a robotic chauffeur pretending you no longer matter. It is still a driver's car, just one that's finally learned how to help without being needy about it. The battery story is serious engineering stuff. BMW's Gen 6 eDrive uses new cylindrical cells, a cell-to-pack layout, and what it calls a pack-to-open body concept, where the battery housing becomes a structural part of the car. That helps with packaging, weight, aerodynamics, and body rigidity. BMW says Gen 6 delivers 30% more range and 30% faster charging than Gen 5, while the new motor combo reduces energy losses by 40%, cuts drive system weight by 10%, and reduces manufacturing costs by 20%. And because this is a new age EV, the i3 also does bi-directional charging. Vehicle to load, vehicle to home, and vehicle to grid where supported. So yes, in theory, your BMW can help power your house, your bike, or your barbecue, which is either incredibly useful or the most BMW possible way to make grilling feel technologically superior. Then there's where it's made and what that symbolizes. The new i3 will be built at BMW's historic Munich plant, which has been heavily modernized over the last 4 years, with a new body shop, new assembly, and new logistics space. BMW says production begins there in 2026, and 1 year later, the plant will shift to exclusively fully electric Neue Klasse vehicles. That is not just a manufacturing update. That is a giant neon sign saying BMW sees this architecture as the future, not an experiment. On sustainability, BMW says the i3 uses about 30% secondary materials overall, including high recycled content in aluminum parts and wheels, plus recycled plastics and recycled textiles in parts of the car. So the i3 is meant to signal not just a new product era, but a new production and materials era too. So what is the new BMW i3 really? It's the first electric 3 Series, yes. But more importantly, it's BMW's most convincing argument yet that the EV era does not have to be sterile, soulless, or shaped like a melted smart speaker. It's fast, clever, deeply digital, loaded with luxury tech, and packed with headline stats that genuinely matter. 469 horsepower, up to 900 kilometers WLTP range, 400 kilowatt charging, bidirectional power, and an entirely new software and electronics backbone. In short, BMW is not just launching a car here. It is launching a worldview. And for once, the corporate buzzwords might actually be backed up by the hardware. If you enjoyed this breakdown, drop a like, jump in the comments and tell me what you think of the new BMW i3. And subscribe to Q.0 Network for more up-to-date coverage on new cars, supercars, EVs, and future mobility tech.